Here's my Aprilia 2014 APRC factory. One of the bikes that are listed on my holy grail of bikes. I finally was able to acquire her about a year ago, but it didn't come without trepidation. When I found her, she was a little bit dusty, a tiny bit rusty, and she had been kept outside in front of the seller's yard in the Kingdom of Bahrain for months before he decided he did not need her anymore and wanted to sell her. After lots of love, a little bit of attention, a little bit of work, we got her looking pretty amazing. When I acquired her, she only had about 9,000 kilometers on it. If you translated that to miles, that's about 6,000 miles. So here we are with a 2014 and 2023 with a bike that has 6,000 kilometers on it. Some people would argue that she's not even broken in yet. But like I said, without anyone who knows anything about Aprilia or these wonderful Italian machines, is that they're a bit temperamental. They like to workshop. They like to go in for service. They like to break down for silly reasons and serious reasons as well. So one of the first things that happened to me while driving this wonderful Aprilia is that she was leaking fluid. And I didn't know where she was leaking fluid from, so I took her into the workshop. And they said maybe it was the thermostat, maybe it was the radiator cap, and had those replaced. Maybe it was hoses, had those replaced. So eventually I ended up changing out the whole coolant system using original Aprillia part for the radiator cap. And instead of replacing the thermostat, what I decided to do was put in a thermostat replacement kit, or bypass kit, sorry. And you can see the orange hoses there. These came from the SAMCO company. And before I changed these SAMCO hoses and clamps with these real harsh, strong aluminum clamps, I ordered the red set, which looked amazing, but I still had this leak problem. But when I ordered the bypass kit, they came in this orange color. And first I was like, why did they put all this orange on my beautiful red and black and silver machine? But now they've actually grown on me, and I really like the unique feature that they add. The SAMCO thermostat bypass kit, as well as the original hoses from the SAMCO hose replacement kit. So I replaced all the hoses, replaced the radiator cap, replaced the actual radiator, replaced the with the thermostat bypass kit, and also the manifold. These were all potential causes on the forum, the Aprillia forum, that would cause it to leak fluid. Since I had all that work done, I haven't had any problems with it leaking or overheating. I have not gone for a really long ride, more than 10-15 minutes, but still no leaks, no drops, no driplets at all. So once I overcame that issue, another issue I had to overcome was the ignition switch. It was loose, so I had to clamp that down. And once that got clamped in, I didn't have any problems with the ignition switch taking out. When I bought the tire, there were two different wheels. One wheel was black, one wheel was purple. And I'm not sure what happened. Did they replace the wheels? Or did it come like that for the who knows? But I took it to my workshop and I had them replace the color. They repainted the wheels. These are the same wheels that I had when I bought the bike, but now they're this beautiful Aprilia red. They just look so amazing. Excellent work by the painters. The stickers are the original stickers. The plastic's the original plastic. Everything aluminum, nothing's been touched on this bike, as you know, just by looking at the spec sheet from the original Aprilia. You know that it comes with the Olin forks and the Brembo brake system. Also has the adjustable O-rings, rear suspension as well. The original stock, as I mentioned before. The rear set standard. So the only adjustments I've made, the only modifications I've made was adding this RAM mount, cell phone mount kit. These things are very brittle and fragile. It's a separate, I guess we might as well review this while I can, but you have to replace these all the time, especially living in a very temperate climate. They break pretty easily. What else do we have here? The levers are huge. That's one thing I noticed about the Aprilia, is that the levers for the clutch as well as the brake levers are just huge. So mine, I'm not sure if all of them do, but mine came with the carbon fiber front fender. So that was pretty cool. But what I noticed after I just, with normal, a little bit of elbow grease, she looks practically new, almost showroom floor worthy. After the early trials with this bike of starting issues with the ignition, also the coolant issues, I really thought I wanted to just let her go. Just let her go and start from scratch. But we'll give her another go. See what kind of issues, if there's any issues we come up with in the future. But right now, she looks good. She rides well. Real stiff suspension. But one of the best parts about this particular bike, from my side, is just how smooth she receives her power. In first gear, if you turn over the throttle, just before you know it, without even realizing it, you're going 110 kilometers per hour. Just open her up. And the way, you don't even feel that you're going so fast. The bike doesn't scream at you. It doesn't vibrate. It doesn't shake. All it does is just pull and pull and pull. And that was only, in the mode that I'm riding in right now is race mode. And just opening up the throttle to, 12,000 RPMs. You're at 120 in first gear. And that's kilometers per hour. And it goes all the way up to 15, maybe 16,000 RPMs. And it doesn't even redline till 14. So just pulling away 10, 11, 12, you're at 120, 130 kilometers per hour in first gear. And you don't even feel like the bike is even beginning to run into its, potential, or even into its power band. So very fast, very smooth, very well balanced on corners. You just lean over just slightly and the bike just falls into turns. Now, I do have another bike. That's my BMW HP4 2014, and it's an amazing bike. It feels completely different. How it receives its power, how it handles, how it accelerates, everything is completely different. It's a lot bigger than this bike. It feels bigger than this bike. This bike feels like you're riding maybe a 600, whereas my S1000 HP4 BMW, it feels like you're riding a pretty big bike. So the stance on the bike, it's tall, although it's smaller than the BMW in terms of overall size. It's tall. So at 5'8" with a 31-inch inseam, I can barely flat foot this, barely put both feet on the ground. I can with my boots on get both feet on the ground, but it's just that. So it's an amazing bike. Just like with any Italian sports bike, from what I've seen and what I've heard, you're going to have its temperamental issues and spend some time in the workshop. But again, I bought it used secondhand, and it had sat out in the Middle Eastern climate, which can get up to 55, 60 degrees Celsius, which is 125, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. And it has sat out most of the summer for, God knows how many years. And so to get it dusted off, cleaned up, and looking this good and riding this good, it's a practically new bike with 6,000 miles, 10,000 kilometers on it. Even just sitting in my living room, sitting in my garage, riding it into work, she gathers a lot of attention. She's just beautiful. She's fun to ride. Hard to think about giving her up. But, of course, there's always another bike, and always a better bike, a newer bike that might catch her attention, or my attention. So definitely open for offers. But what do you think of the orange SAMCO thermostat bypass? What do you think of the red repainted wheels? Again, those are the only two real modifications that I made to the bike, in addition to adding the ram mount, which needs these rubbers replaced quite frequently. Okay. Another video, I'll start her up and give you a chance to hear what she sounds like in relation to the BMW.